You join us at the Moscow Raceway in Russia for the 5th round of the 2013 World Series by Renault 3.5 Championship, and it's quite an entertaining race we've got in prospect. Stoffel van Dorn and Antonio Felix da Costa, the rivals of the championship, on the front row of the grid. The big story, though, is that Kevin Magnussen, the championship leader, is down in 17th on the grid after a blocking penalty on, of all people, Antonio Felix da Costa. That is a real talking point. Jake Sanson here alongside me, Tom Gaymore, and what a great race we've got ahead of us, Tom.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, Moscow Raceway new to the calendar last year. This is the second time World Series by Renault has visited the track. It's a couple of hours outside of Moscow, depending on the traffic. It could take you between 2 and 4 hours to get here, but not notorious for its overtaking, and with only 275 seconds of DRS open to these drivers, it could make it tricky for the drivers in the midfield, and certainly Magnussen in 17th. So let's go through the grid.
Indeed, Stoffel van Dorn on pole position for the second time only this season, ahead of Antonio Felix da Costa, Nigel Melker, and new boy William Buller in 4th on the grid for Zeta course. What a drive from him. Oliver Webb and Marlon Stockinger on row 3 with Will Stevens and Nico Müller. Andre Negrão and Marco Sorensen on row 5 with Artur Pique and Sergei Sorokin on row 6. Matthias Lane and the Frenchman Norman Nato are there on row 7 with Carlos Huertas and Christopher Zanella. There's Kevin Magnussen, not looking happy in 17th, along with Mikhail Aleshin, the homeboy hero, Jazeman Jafar, and another Russian hero, Nikolai Matsenko. Then Pietro Fantin and Lucas Foresti, an all-Brazilian row 11. Then Daniel Mauve, who is set to start his 100th World Series by Renault race tomorrow, along with Jan Cunha. And then at the back, we have Zol Amberg and Mihai Marinescu in the Zeta course. This is quite an interesting dynamic we've got on the grid. With Magnussen so low down, he's going to want to get back up the front. He's going to be the one to watch making his way through the field. But as you said, it's a tight, twisting circuit, quite akin to Budapest in Hungary. It's going to be a very tall order for him, even with DRS.
Sector 1 and Sector 2 is a no-go for overtaking. Sector 3, it's doable. There's a chicane around the back where you can, if you catch someone off guard, stick it up the inside. But the main passing spot will be down the end of this long back straight down into turn 15, and with the DRS open, all's to play for down there. But only 8 seconds of DRS really on average. Well, if you work out the average, it's 8 seconds per lap for these drivers, so not a lot of DRS to play for, and that'll suit this man, Stoffel van Dorn, lining up on the left-hand side of your screen in the yellow and red colored car on pole position. This is his crew, the Forte Motorsport crew, run by Richard Dutton, the British team, and it's very nice to see flying the British flag successfully. Those boys doing an absolutely great job. So what's happened here? Somebody has stalled.
Yes,
that
indeed.
Is one of the ISR cars. Is that
the number 7? Is that Sorokin?
Yes,
it is.
Sorokin.
It's the homeboy Sorokin. Sergei Sorokin, who has starred so valiantly in some of the earlier races, including at Aragon. Sergei Sorokin has stalled it on the way to the grid. That is absolutely disastrous.
Yeah, one of 4 Russians in this field, and he's made a real hash of it, and it does look as though they might send them around, or they might start the field. He is at the back, so race control here, talking to our race starter. What are they going to do? Because Sorokin cannot stay there, but he's out of the way of things, if you like. There's no green flag at the back of the field yet.
Are they going to recover
here.
it? Well, there's the man with the green flag. Is he going to wait?
Look,
this is a bizarre moment.
Everybody's looking and talking on radios. There's not much in the way of action, but the green flag's going to go, so that's a sensible decision.
Lights out, away we go. Sorokin is recovered at the back, but we go racing. Da Costa trying to sweep in behind Van Dorn. Buller's got a brilliant start as he makes his way past Melker at the first corner. Everybody jostling for position in the back there. Oh, and that's Cunha going wide. On the apex of the corner, he just runs completely offline, but he manages to get going again, and Melker is now side by side with Buller for 3rd place, and somebody's up in the background. That looks like one of the Pons cars. I think that might be Martsenko, but anyway, we go through the field, and Buller runs wide. Melker's going to get him on the outside line.
Well, Melker's going to have a good look and a try at getting Buller. He's run wide, and yes he has. He's run wide again, and that's not the start that Will Buller would have liked. right, having got away well. He's got Bell over it. Will Stevens crawling all over the back of him. Muller in turn, or is that Muller or Negrao? They got very similar
there in 6th
helmets.
position, really starting to jostle for position. This is a fantastic opening lap. Everybody knows that this is a tricky circuit to overtake on. You've got to make the start of this race count. Van Dorn's got a clear advantage from Da Costa, and they've left Nigel Melker for dead. 4th position now. It still looks like it's Buller just there for the moment. But he has indeed got Will Stevens and Andre Negrao snapping in his heels.
Yes, Melker now past Will Buller, and he'll set off in pursuit of Da Costa and Van Dorn. Buller now needs to get his head down, settle into rhythm. It's Will Stevens that's coming under pressure now from Negrao. That's a battle for 5th place. Goes defensive. Negrao chooses to stay because of the yellow flags that are still out, and that must be for Sorotkin's car that they're still recovering into the pit lane.
I have to say, I've never seen anybody stall their car on the actual grid. We're basically out of the final corner. He was on his way to the grid. I've never seen anybody stall that close to the start of a race. I've seen it mid-lap, I've seen it off the start line itself, but never on the actual approach to the starting grid. The closest I've ever come to seeing anything like that was Fisichella in Formula 1 a couple of times at Malaysia, not starting in the correct grid slot. But that's bizarre from Sergei Sirotkin. He'll be kicking himself when it's on home ground. And looking through the field, Magnussen is up to 13th place now. There he is, behind his teammate, Norman Nato, as they chase after Artur Peak.
Well, that'll become 12. And yeah, well, you know, let's just wait and see. It may have been a car failure, but these World Series by Renault cars are tricky to get off the line. They've got a pneumatic powered clutch system on the car. It's not hydraulics like you see in many other formulas, which means that you have to keep a certain amount of air pressure in the capacitor. It's about 7 bar, and if you don't do that, the car will not engage gear. So Van Dorn quickest away. Very good start from pole position. Da Costa up into 2nd place, and it was Melker putting Buller under pressure from the off, wasn't it?
Well, Buller got an amazing start. He managed to jump into 3rd position. This is on board with Da Costa. This is how close he got to getting Van Dorn. He makes a good start initially, but Van Dorn, once he got that inside line, that was it. He was gone. But it's behind that we want to see, because William Buller, the Formula 3 driver, got a brilliant start. Now, this is on board with Magnussen, I believe, making his start. He actually got initially a bad start, but then he manages to work his way through the chaos of the first corner and make a few positions up there. So initially, Magnussen actually got a bad start, but as you said, Will, as you said, Tom, he's got Magnussen through into 12th position now, past Nato, and up behind Artur Peak, but Van Dorn leads. Da Costa, Melker, and William Buller in 4th position. New to the formula this weekend from the European Formula 3 Championship, but he'll be kicking himself because he got a brilliant start up to 3rd place, and he threw it all away.
Yes, it was a difficult first couple of corners for Will Buller, and at the beginning of the weekend he would have taken 4th place after the first lap, but as you say, when you are in a prominent position and it slips away from you, it's always easy to concentrate on what could have been. So Van Dorn leads Da Costa, Melker making inroads into the pair of them, and Will Buller settling into a very nice rhythm now in 4th place and just moving away from Will Stevens, who's 5th. It's Negrao, the 2 international Draco cars, Muller, his teammate, 6th and 7th. Stockinger enjoying a really good weekend. He had his best qualifying of the year when he was 7th, which became 6th after Magnussen's penalty. And actually, you have to say, in that Lotus car, doing a good job, because he's ahead of his more favourite teammate, Marco Sorensen, down in 10th place. And if you're outperforming Sorensen on pace, then you're doing a good job.
Well, I've just noticed the 2 Draco cars. You said Negrao and Muller running 1st and 2nd. They've actually helped you out a little bit, Tom. I think they've been listening to the fact that you've been confused. Now we see Negrao with yellow end plates on the wing, and Muller has red end plates on the wing. So from a long distance, you can see the difference between them. So good for that. Good to see them making life a bit easier for us, certainly. But out in front, we've got Van Dorn out in front. Now, this is Magnussen, having got past Nato. Now he's taking on R2 Peak on the inside. He slices across him. Goodness me, that could have very nearly taken the front wing off.
Yeah, so Magnussen looking very racy. He's kind of adopted the attitude that it's win or wall. He needs to get points, and in order to get points, he needs to move further up the field. So he's going hell for leather, and right up behind last year's winner, Artur Peak. And the AV Formula driver will have to use all his experience to keep Kevin Magnussen behind, because Magnussen now will have the DRS open. Pick will probably be negating that with his DRS as well. So it's as they were, and you can quite clearly see Magnussen not gaining on Pick. So both drivers with their DRS open, and well, that kind of eliminates DRS from the equation, really, doesn't it? But nevertheless, for those of you at home that don't like DRS, and there's plenty of those, if you follow Formula One, you'll see lots of tweets about various people disliking what DRS brings to the races, and Magnussen will have to do it on talent and skill alone now, as R2 Pick is slow in this middle sector, but there's only one line, which makes it difficult for Magnussen to get past. And
both these drivers are under pressure in their own minds, because of course they have Formula One connections, with Artur Pique's brother Charles being in the Formula One world already as a Caterham driver. And then of course you've got Kevin Magnussen, who is part of the McLaren Academia. So both of these guys are really struggling to try and get the attention of the Formula One teams. Artur's saying, well, I'm just as good as my brother, if not, I'm better. And Kevin is, well, I've already got a McLaren contract virtually in my pocket. Now, we've got an incident here involving 4 and 28. That's Pietro Fantin and Jan Cunha. So that's under investigation. So they've clearly come together at some point on the circuit. We didn't see it. Maybe we can get a replay shortly, hopefully. But that's Fantin in the Arden Caterham and Cunha in the AV Formula car. We'll try and find out what happened. We're going to go for a quick commercial break. Join us again. There's plenty more action to come. Stoffel van Dorn still leading in the Fortec. Antonio Felix da Costa behind him, just 2 seconds adrift. He's actually been keeping the pace fairly even over the last few laps. Oh, William Buller and Will Stevens going head-to-head out of the final corner. You join us at a brilliant moment. Will Stevens, here he is, up the inside of the final corner, and Buller trying to hang it out, but he has to run wide because Stevens gives him no room for error at all. And that is absolutely brilliant driving from Will Stevens.
Yeah, very opportunistic move there, and Will Buller saw him coming, so well done, Will Stevens. Nice and aggressive, and good driving from Will Buller. He chose to go on onto the concrete there on the exit, because he would have seen that the Negrão car, and both the Draco cars were close behind, and to get out of the throttle onto the start and finish straight would have been a real disaster for Buller. So kept it in and used the tarmac runoff to his advantage. So Stevens now up to 4th place. He'll get his head down and try and get up to the back of Nigel Melker. The gap now of about 4.8 seconds between 3rd and 4th. So plenty of work for Will to do, but he's been very quick of late in race trim, and that P1 by Straka Racing crew have done a great job. And we're looking at the next battle on screen now, Jan Cunha.
And it's Mihai Marinescu. This is actually the battle for 23rd place, but it was looking a little bit hectic earlier on in the lap. Interesting that Will Buller was able to use the outside runoff area. I'm one of these purists. I don't like the runoff area, I have to say. I'm one of these people. Racetracks nowadays, they're becoming far too sanitized. I was listening to Karun Chandok talking about Le Mans yesterday. He was saying all these brilliant circuits, even Spa now, it's just too sanitized. There's too much runoff area. There's no margin for error. My attitude is there needs to be stiffer penalties for drivers making mistakes like that or running off the circuit. Tom, what's your view?
Yeah, it's an interesting view. I mean, obviously Will Buller didn't make a mistake there, and he made full use of what's available to him. He chose to keep it on the outside of Will Stevens and not to surrender that position earlier on in the corner. And yeah, in years gone by, you would have to have surrendered on entry and just tucked in as best you can towards the apex and get a good exit. But the mentality and the approach is different now for the younger drivers, because the way they've been brought up is that there is opportunity to use some of these runoff areas to their advantage. And as we all well know, give a racing driver an inch and they will take a mile. And that's but you know, Will Buller there didn't really gain too much.
Well, 20 years ago in 1993, he would have gone that wide and ended up in the gravel trap, and that would have been game over. So, I mean, I don't know. It is a fine line. You do have to bring these things into circuits nowadays for safety reasons. I do get that. And it is important that we do focus on safety. But perhaps maybe we've gone a little bit too far, Tom?
Yes and no. Obviously, it does work into the advantage of the race organisers and us viewers at home when we don't see so many safety cars and cars littering the track. I do share your opinion when it comes to the quicker corners and corners like Eau Rouge and some of the more daunting corners around the world on the international race calendars. And they really were very daunting when you approached them and you knew there was zero margin for error. Now there is a margin for error. It kind of does just, in my mind, ruin it slightly, but you cannot sacrifice
this is
safety.
Fantin battling it out with, I think that's one of the Pons cars, so that's Marinescu. No, sorry, that's Martsenko in the 26. So Martsenko moving up, another one of the Russian locals. There are 4 local drivers on the grid. Well, there are 3 now. It's Sorokin is off the circuit in the first part of the corner, but Fantin just tried to dive back down the inside of Martsenko. That was very nearly a banzai moment. Let's have a look at it again.
Yeah, there were nearly 2 Russians left in this race as Pietro Fantin does get it up the inside, but had to back out. It would have been a sinking feeling from the moment you made that move, because it was very clear that Marinescu was...
He wasn't going to give him the corner.
Yeah, was not going to give him the corner. And so, as they were, as we look at the field now, strung out along the back straight. And that's Huertas leading his teammate Jafar into the last corner. Zanella behind, and that's Daniel Mauve, 7 years in World Series by Renault with no win. And wouldn't he love to do it in front of his home crowd? Down in 20th with 29 minutes to go.
Well, he'd certainly have a good result, considering that tomorrow he'll be making his 100th start in the World Series by Renault. Nobody has ever raced anywhere near that many other than Mikhail Aleshin, another Russian in the field. What is it about Russians and a long-time streak in the WSR? Racing at Moscow couldn't have come better for them.
Yeah, Aleshin's enjoyed a break. I mean, he has won this championship in 2010, and all credit to him, did a great job in the Carlin run car that year, and went away to GP2 and damaged his hand, and then sat some races out, and then struggled for budget, and it hasn't really come back together for him over the last couple of years. He struggled for momentum and pace, but one man not struggling for pace and momentum, Stoffel Van Dorn, now leads Antonio Felix da Costa by 2.7 seconds. Nigel Melker a further handful of seconds behind, and really, Stoffel Van Dorn, winner last time out in front of his home crowd in Spa, Belgium, and he's just moving back into the ascendancy, isn't he? I mean, he's 29. I've never been good at maths, as Martin Haven will tell you. Jake will have to take over the mantle now. 29 points, I think, is the gap between Van Dorn in second place and Kevin Magnussen, our championship leader, as Daniel Mauve has a look. And really, if he wins here today without putting the commentator's curse on him, he's right back in the mix. And
especially when Magnussen is only 12th at the moment, and he can't get close enough to Artur Peak to even get close to making a move. This is the big problem, as we were saying earlier with this track. It's so twisty, and there's only one real line through the first couple of sectors. You just can't find a way through. Magnussen easily this season has been the faster of the 2 drivers, but he just can't gain that momentum. Just looking at the lap times as well, the fastest man out there on the grid, well, no, it's not Van Dorn, it's not Da Costa, it's not even Nigel Melker, it's actually Zol Amberg down in last place. He's done a 1:22.2, which is a 1/10 of a second faster than anybody. Van Dorn is the second fastest, but Amberg, he obviously got pushed down to the back of the grid in a first lap, first corner incident. He's the fastest man out there. He's got a clear track.
Yes, he's made a pit stop. I'll be intrigued to work out what tyres he started this race on, or what tyres he's chosen. Obviously, we don't have a pit stop in this race, and so that means that strategy goes out to the window, but they have to manage the tyres over the course of 44 minutes and a lap. And talking to some of the drivers before this, it's a bit of a worry as to how the rear tyres are going to react around here. The low grip circuit, fairly green, and it was a lot of oversteer was the cause for concern in qualifying, and the rear tyres were wearing because of that. So a bit of tyre management for some of these guys, and if Amberg's got new rubber, we expect him to go quickly.
Aleshin, Foresti, Mauve, Fantin and Marinescu. There's a huge train of these cars all coming through together. Marinescu looks like he's got past Fantin once again. No, sorry, it's not Marinescu, it's Martsenko, the Russian. He's looking up, big style there into turn 3. That's a really major mistake in terms of flat spotting those tyres. He really doesn't want to be doing that too often, otherwise he really will become a victim of Pietro Fantin once again. But Now, interesting to see that we've got a couple of trains developing here, with Aleshin leading this 5-car train, but up at the front, Will Buller is actually leading a 6 to 7 car train, with at the back of it Kevin Magnussen in the dams, I believe. But it's amazing to see that Will Stevens, having put that move on Will Buller, is now consistently a second a lap quicker than him. It just goes to show what experience counts over youth.
Yes, and as I said, when he did get past Buller, you know, Will Stevens, historically, he's a bit of a charger. He does a good job. And P1 by Straka Racing have a very good car in terms of race pace over the start of this 2013 season. And well, we're seeing that now as he goes purple last time around, 1:22.2. So fastest lap of the race for Will Stevens. And as you said, that gap now starting to eke out. I did tweet out earlier at Tom Gaymore, if you have any questions, do tweet them in. And Christian Rose has said, what sort of G-forces will these cars produce? Close to F1 levels? Yes, indeed, they're about 500 kilos less than a Formula 1 car in terms of how much downforce they produce. And in the corners, that's up to about 3G. And in the braking, anything up to 4.6 G. So a lot of grip, more downforce and grip than a GP2 car, just slightly less power. So a bit like a bigger version of an F3 car, if you like. But these cars do really prepare a driver for Formula 1, and they are very physical to drive. And you have to be right on top of your fitness levels. And that's one thing, you know, talking about Will Buller, for example, in this weekend for his first World Series by Renault race, he'll be feeding it around here in about 10 minutes' time.
Yeah, this is definitely a tall order for Will, who's done a great job. The latest new boy to step into the Zeta Course car and shine, because, of course, we had Julian Piquet starting the season. Then we had Matteo Tuscia come in for the 2 races at Aragon. Then we had Carlos Sainz Jr. coming in for 2 meetings at Monaco and Spa. And now Will has stepped into the car. He's done a great job. You know, he went 5th in qualifying, promoted to 4th when Magnussen was penalised. This Zeta Course car, any budding young drivers out there, I'd get into that one if I were you. You seem to do a great job the second you get in. We've got another break coming up, but when we come back, we'll see how the race develops. Can Van Dorn hold off Da Costa? You rejoin us at the Russian Moscow Raceway for round 5 of the Renault World Series. It's the 8th race of the season, and you're watching the Carlin versus ISR battle as Carlos Huertas, Jazeman Jafar and Christopher Zanella go wheel to wheel, racing on the circuit for 15th position on the track. It's been a long time since Huertas won that race at Aragon, hasn't it? It certainly feels like it for him right now.
Yeah, Huertas in the Carlin stable, and they're doing a good job with him, and Jafar, his teammate's a rookie. Obviously, Carlin are a powerhouse in terms of single-seater success across all formulas, really, from GP2, World Series, F3. They really do an incredible job, and they're maximizing or trying to get Carlos up to maximizing his potential. He's had a win this year in inclement conditions, but hasn't quite worked out for him in the drier conditions, and maybe that's an application issue, I'm not sure. But Jafar learning the ropes behind him, and well and truly behind him at the moment, and probably wishing he was in front of him.
And speaking of not working out for you, Kevin Magnussen still stuck here behind the 27, Artur Peak. He just can't find the momentum. This must be so frustrating when you know you're leading the championship and you've got this opportunity to clinch it in what you said at the beginning of the year would be his year. He must have thought that himself as well. This must be so frustrating. Yeah,
I think he'll be just ruining what went on in qualifying. It wouldn't have been a deliberate act by Kevin Magnussen. The beauty of this championship and the Renault fraternity, if you like, is, you know, they breed a lot of camaraderie between the rivals. And Magnussen and Da Costa, they race very well, and so does Van Dorn, and they have a lot of respect for each other. So whatever went on in qualifying, it wouldn't have been deliberate. But nevertheless, it'll be in the back of Kevin's mind that it was a mistake, and he'll be ruining that right now. But such is the nature of this Moscow Raceway. Very difficult through sectors 1 and 2, and you just can't get close to the car in front because the air travels off the back of their car and effectively misses the front of your car, the big wing at the front there, and you lose quite a lot of downforce. And these cars are designed in wind tunnels where the wind traveling over the car is undeterred by anything in front of it, and so you're basically just not running to maximum efficiency. And with the DRS so minimal around here, 275 seconds, it means that he's effectively stuck.
I'm just keeping an eye on these two. You watched Magnussen with Nato right behind him. I've been watching in the last couple of laps, Norman Nato. He's actually setting equal, if not better, lap times than Kevin Magnussen in front of him. In fact, his fastest time, Kevin Magnussen's, is a 1:23.0. Nato's is a 1:22.9. So Nato is actually able to go faster than Kevin Magnussen at this point. He's actually closed right up on him once again. Still, we look at this battle. Aleshin, Foresti, Mauve, Fantin, and Marinescu, I think that is. No, it's Martsenko coming through again. So, still this battle continues, although it's very interesting to see that once again it's this train, this snake developing through the racetrack. There's not much room for an opportunity. Tomorrow is going to be really telling when we've got the pit stop strategies, when people coming in at different times, choosing their moment to make a pit stop. That's when it's really going to tell. We're going to see a lot more opportunistic moves tomorrow, I think.
Yes, the pit window will probably be around laps 4 to 14 or 5 to 15, and it does open up strategy so the teams can bring their driver in early and capitalise with clear air after the pit stops, or you can stay out and do all sorts of different things, and that does bring into the mix.
Martsenko locking up again there. Goodness me, he's really driving this car by the ring of the neck. He kicks the back out now this time. Nikolai Martsenko really started to charge. And you watch Mikel Aleshin, he knows that Lucas Foresti is lining him up for a move. He's weaving around from side to side. He's done this 1 or 2 or 3 times. Now, surely you're only allowed to move once, or is that not the same rule in World Series by Renault? I don't know, but this is really massively defensive driving here from Aleshin. Look, he's hung all the way out to the left of the apex of the corner. He knows that Foresti is bound to come through, and it looks like we could get an opportunistic move from Daniel Mauve here up the inside. No, he can't get through. Here comes Martsenko. This is brilliant. We've got 5 cars all trying to get past. Aleshin is holding these guys up. Foresti there in front of Daniel Mauve. Martsenko, Fantin, they're all closing up together. This is a lovely little train of cars, and everybody is trying to find that opportunistic move. Aleshin desperately holding up the cars. His last lap compared to Zanella was a good 2 or 3 tenths of a second back, and he's been progressively slower each lap. He's about he was about a second a lap slower than Zanella last time round. So he's really losing time, hand over fist over these guys.
Yeah, he's got his elbows out, hasn't he? And I'm not sure what the problem is with Aleshin. Rear tyres starting to struggle. You see when he makes a move into the corner, the rear of the car moving away. I've not quite seen somebody defend so vigorously for 18th for a long time, but each to their own, and he's a racing driver and he has to do what he's doing. Snaking down the back straight is just to break the toe. That's okay. We saw on the start and finish straight when Foresti was closer, he made the one move. So it is just the one move, and you're not allowed to come back to the line.
And all this has brought into play, look, in the background, we've got Marinescu and Cunha moving into the battle as well. So this is like to become a 7-car train. Up comes Martsenko up the inside, trying to get his move on Daniel Mauve. He can't make it work. Now Lucas Foresti challenging for Mikel Aleshin. Is he going to make the sweep? No, he goes to the right. Now down towards the left-hander. This is so close.
Yeah, front straightaway not quite long enough, and it's a risky plot from Aleshin, because Foresti's frustration will be mounting under the helmet, and it could be not too long before he just sends it somewhere. And
there's a bit of an interest.
Aleshin will have to be wary of that.
We've got an interesting dynamic here as well, because Daniel Mauve and Lucas Foresti are teammates, and Daniel Mauve will not want to sit in the middle of this train of cars. He'll want to get past his teammate. His attitude will probably be, well, Lucas, if you can't get past Mikel, let me through. I can have a go. I can probably find a line where you can't. He'll be more motivated as well, being a Russian on home soil. This is a great dynamic we've got here. 3 Russians in this queue of cars. Aleshin, Mauve and Martsenko, and Mihai Marinescu and Jan Cunha coming onto the back of this train. They're going to want to get on with it.
Well, they're putting a show on for the home fans, aren't they? And all credit to them. It is, I emphasise, for 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, as we see at the back of that group. Well,
now we've got Aleshin. He's actually pulled out a bit of space on Lucas Foresti, so that's kind of calmed things down a bit. We go back towards the front. Will Stevens, his progress has been very good over the last few laps. He's consistently gone faster than Nigel Melker, and he's catching him 10th by 10th, lap by lap, and he's got time to get onto the tail of him and make that move for 3rd position, and a podium here would be fantastic. Let's have a look at the replay. This is Mauve on the inside of Foresti. This is teammate on teammate, and he's got him.
So we followed this gaggle of cars for 2 laps, and as soon as the director moves away, we miss the move. So we go back, and that's not a pun. That was Daniel Mauve making the move on Foresti, but Will Stevens was brilliant here last year in the Carlin car. He was one of the only guys to really make some passes around the second sector, and he's cruising right up to the back of Melka now, but catching's one thing, passing another around Moscow Raceway.
Oh, big accident! Big accident! Who's that? That's one of the SMP cars.
Yes.
Let's have a look at what that was. Oh, this is Martsenko up the inside, and that's Foresti. Whoa! Big, big roll! That is a massive accident.
It's a very frightening accident.
Dear, oh dear, that is nasty, and it's rummed him through the gravel trap as well, and he catches the fence, both men out of their cars, and that is Martsenko out of his car, rushing to see if Lucas is okay. That was a monumental accidident. And we do see movement. Oh, he is out the car.
We see Lucas gingerly moving away from his vehicle.
That was a heart-stopping moment. Are you okay, mate? Yes, I'm all right. I'm a bit stunned. I'm a bit shocked there. I'm not really surprised. What a monumental accident.
Very frightening accident, traveling upside down through the gravel bed. That's about 110 miles an hour through there, so absolutely.
Well, we were talking about gravel traps before. That's one of the reasons why there aren't so many gravel traps nowadays, because it does cause a problem. Look at that, he's just running across the gravel trap here. This is where most of the damage would have been done, but it looks like he's okay, just running through. Goodness me, this is the replay of Martsenko digging him out. Oh, he's hurt his hand there. Hurt his hand. That's, well, hopefully that's all he's hurt. What a nasty moment for Lucas Foresti. What a nasty, nasty moment. Fortunately, he's out of it. The race does not look like it's going to be stopped or even a safety car brought out, so goodness me, that was a heart-stopping moment for those 2 or 3 seconds, wasn't it, when we weren't sure whether Lucas was going to climb out. You don't see an accident like that very often, and it's certainly changed the dynamic of things. Now, hang on a minute. Magnusson, he's got past Peak, so he's managed it. He's got past Artur Peak. Now, we didn't see that because we were focusing on Lucas Foresti, but he has finally made it through.
Yeah, up to 11th place now, but moving back to that accident, that was incredibly frightening, and that is just what I was saying in that group of cars. When you're vigorously defending like that, the frustration builds, and Martsenko ultimately went for a gap that wasn't quite there, and very fast part of the circuit, and Foresti had no option but to turn in. Probably wouldn't have been expecting him to have been there, and to be traveling upside down at that speed, you know, I'll be honest, I had my heart in my mouth, because that's a very frightening accident, and all credit to Renault and the safety and the development that they put into this car, because that and the roll hoop and so forth stood up really, really well. The yellow piece that you saw flashing off the top of the car is actually the onboard camera mount, so that's not the roll hoop. It looks as though the roll hoop stayed intact, and that at that speed.
What an amazing battle we've got developing here. This is another train that we've got here, and who's at the front of it? It's Will Buller. And look at this train. I'm trying to count how many cars are in it. It's 11 cars in this train. This is from 4th position all the way back to 14th place. So this is from Will Stevens in 4th down to Matthias Lane in 14th place. A massive train of cars, and anything can happen between these 11 drivers. If one person makes a mistake, it can change the entire dynamic. Now we've got, this is back to that battle. Obviously, we no longer have Foresti and Martsenko. They've both taken themselves off, but now we've got Lucas Foresti. Sorry, no, it's not Lucas Foresti. There is Lucas Foresti's car. It's Daniel Mauve on Mikhail Aleshin. So it's Russian versus Russian as they make their way through turn 2. And I wonder if Daniel Mauve just wants to put something over on his fellow countrymen here. They're both good friends, countrymen, but they are the 2 most raced drivers in World Series by Renault. This is Mikhail Aleshin's 94th start in the championship, and this is Daniel Mauve's 99th. So if they continue to see out the season, they'll both hit their century. But I wouldn't be surprised if in front of the home crowd, this is Daniel's opportunity. I'm going to prove I'm the best one from this country, mate. Well,
yeah, the jury's out on that. 7 years with no win. Aleshin, champion in this formula in 2010 with Carlin, so I know who my money is on in terms of where the talent lies. But as you rightly say, Daniel Mauve looking the quicker of the pair at the moment. Aleshin is struggling with some sort of handling imbalance in that car, and he's definitely got his elbows out, and that is no surprise there, that the Martsenko and Foresti incident under investigation. I think Martsenko there may come a cropper in the stewards' room.
I'd have to agree with you there. If it was me making that decision, I would say Martsenko, he just made the move from too far back, too late into the corner, and that was the real problem. That was why Foresti went airborne, because of the angle that they hit each other. Martsenko was just coming from too far back, and that's the big problem.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just not really a place where you can pass. So Stoffel Vandoorne now, he's just looked very comfortable. We haven't seen much of him, and that's always a telltale sign that the leader is doing an incredible job, because the production crew or the director wants to follow where the action is, and this man just doing what is required in purple. 22.1, so fastest lap of the race as the fuel burns off, and the Michelin still hanging on around this Moscow Raceway track. Vandoorne proving a point with 7 minutes left on the clock, and you know, Da Costa now will feel a little bit as though the thunder's being stolen from him, if you like.
That's Martsenko's teammate, Zol Lamberg, down in last place. He initially set the fastest lap of the race earlier on, of course. Still very much up there, but he's moved right out of the way to allow the leaders to come past, to get them out of the way. But it's interesting, we look at Da Costa. Vandoorne has pulled out the gap of about 5 seconds now to Antonio Felix da Costa, and the Arden Caterham driver has been losing time hand over fist to Nigel Melker, who is dragging Will Stevens along with him. So we've got this brilliant three-way scrap about to develop. With 7 minutes or so on the clock, there's just enough time for us to get a battle out of it between Da Costa, Melker and Stevens for second place, and that would be sensational.
Yeah, Melker's about to become the meat in the sandwich as he pushes hard, head down, trying to keep out of harm's way, if you like, with Will Stevens coming like a train up behind him, and obviously he's now going to find the back of the Arden Caterham car of Antonio Felix da Costa in front of him. And well, I think with 6 minutes left on the clock, it'll be tough, and you know, I think da Costa will have just enough in the tank to stay clear of these two guys coming up behind them. But it's strong points for da Costa nevertheless, and I'm a massive fan of this man. What he did last year was just incredible, and you know, where he is this year, I think people expected a bit too much of him. He's a super talent, but he's also racing with guys that are extremely talented as well. Vandoorne and Magnussen, both McLaren Junior drivers, and doing a good job. And so da Costa now hasn't necessarily had the car to win in the early stages of 2013, but he's been very solid nevertheless, with a win to his belt and a few podiums. He's third in the championship. He's going to get another strong podium now if nothing goes wrong. And you know, when things do start to come right for the young Portuguese, then he's, you know, really going to be a thorn in the side come the rest of the season, because it's a long year, and momentum does shift and ebb and flows. We saw Vandoorne started off very effectively and then just dropped a little bit, but now he's back with 2 wins if he can cement today's W, and the momentum's now with him as Magnussen drops down to 17th. And so, you know, it's it will ebb and flow, this championship, and I think we're in for a great fight as we watch these two have been inseparable. I think they're probably attached by elastic, aren't they?
It certainly looks like that at the moment. But da Costa, no, we were talking about him earlier on, and there was so much hype surrounding da Costa when he came into the championship at the end of the year last year. He started this year having won more races than anybody else in the championship. Oh, that's Jazeman Jafar. That's the number 12 Carlin being wheeled into the garage. So something has happened there. Whether it's just technical or whether he's hit somebody, we don't know. We haven't seen it. But no, he came into the season at the end of last year, Antonio Felix da Costa, and was winning like a freight train. You know, he was just a metronome. Bang, win, bang, fastest lap, bang, win. And immediately everybody was talking about him as the next Sebastian Vettel. You know, this is the guy, he'll be in a Toro Rosso before too long. He'll be an F1 driver. And there was genuine concern that he could be, you know, challenging Daniel Ricciardo and Jean-Eric Vergne for a seat at Red Bull, even in the main team, let alone in Toro Rosso. And all that pressure, he was talking about it in the press recently, he's put too much pressure on himself, and that's made him suffer in the early part of the season. He's allowed Kevin Magnussen to get the upper hand in the early part of the season, and I think both of them have been completely astonished by Stoffel Vandoorne, who is, you know, doing a Robin Frins. He's completely come in as the Euro Cup champion and thrown his hat into the ring. He's a very capable driver, Stoffel.
Yeah, Vandoorne, everybody knew he was quick, but what he did at the beginning of the year was nothing short of incredible. Never been done before, a win in your first race in World Series Bahrain. It's been done before in your first weekend, obviously.
That was Vettel, wasn't it?
Vettel, and he's turned out to be not too bad. Managed it in his first year.
Massive understatement.
Then Kubica won the championship in his first year, the only man ever to do it until Frins came along last year and emulated that success. And now Vandoorne trying to do the same. And well, you have to say, he's definitely on the right track. If today's performance and the performance so far in 2013 is anything to go by, and all credit to him, because, you know, very nice young guy, and it's nice to see him do well.
So the battle continues then between Jan Cunha and just in front of him Michał Marinescu. Now we've got the number 8 of Christopher Zanella challenging on the back of Carlos Huertas. And he really is challenging, goodness me. He tried to make a sweep through at turn 2. Christopher, I'm sorry, mate, you're never going to make a passing move there from that far back. That was in danger of being a Martsenko versus Foresti part 2. Ding, ding, back to your corner, boys. But Huertas desperately trying to get away from the number 8 of Christopher Zanella, who is swarming all over the back of him like a bad habit at the moment. That's the closest fight we've got other than this one. Aleshin and Mauve still battling, and it's brought Pietro Fantin into the battle, who is... well, last lap he was doing a bit of a Nikolai Martsenko, locking up Big Star, throwing up huge tyre smoke behind him. Last time we saw somebody do that, he was taking a SMP racing car off into the gravel trap. So hopefully Daniel Mauve will not be succumbing to the same fate. Michał Marinescu, the Romanian, hanging it out in front of Jan Cunha in the AV Formula. His teammate Artur Peak still up into the top positions. Unfortunately, we've lost our timing screens for the moment, so it's not something that we can update you on in terms of lap times. As soon as we can get it back, well, we've got timing screens up now, fortunately. Vandoorne 6 seconds clear in front of Da Costa, but Melker is now just 3 seconds adrift. Stevens is less than a second now behind Melker, so that's really where we should be focusing our attentions. But obviously the director knows perfectly well that we're in Russia, and these are 2 Russians going wheel to wheel, so fair play. Here we go, Melker versus Stevens. This is for 3rd position. And over the last 5 minutes, well, Melker has not been able to keep up with Antonio Felix da Costa. He's responded to the challenge, and he's put in some really good laps.
That's, like I said, it's da Costa just moved away from Melker. I just felt that he had enough in the bag to do that. He's kind of surrendered the lead, if you like, and just doing enough to manage his Michelins to the end of the race. Didn't have the pace to match Stoffel Vandoorne and the Fortec crew of Vandoorne. All credit to you guys, but Melker now still under pressure from Will Stevens, and like I said before, catching's one thing, passing is another around this Moscow Raceway, and Will Stevens just starting to find Melker's rhythm now. When a driver does come up behind another driver, it's important to capitalize on that momentum. When you get stuck for a couple of laps, you start to find their rhythm, find their braking zones, find their minimum speeds. It's very, very difficult to generate anything more than just the concertina effect that you get through these corners. And so, but Will Stevens, let's not forget, this is another great handful of points. Started 7th on the grid and up to 4th place. It all starts again tomorrow, but he's worked at it this weekend. Hasn't quite had the pace that he would have liked, but he's turning in a good result, and that's what's important. And Will Buller behind him in 5th place on his debut is nothing short of astounding as well. So all credit to that young man.
Well, Stevens has got to make the advantage count now, because the time has run down. So we are about to start the final lap, and we've got, oh, that's Cunha having finally got past Marinescu. Both of them about to be lapped by Stoffel Vandoorne. I don't think they'll actually be lapped before we finish the last lap, because we are on the final lap now. There is Antonio Felix da Costa in 2nd. Behind that man, Stoffel Vandoorne, the director, struggling to keep up with him. That's how fast he is. Stoffel Vandoorne in the Fortec car He really has been a sensation this year. We knew he was quick after his championship last year in Euro Cup. It's very difficult to make an impression in your first season in a championship like 3.5, particularly when you've got the might of drivers such as Kevin Magnussen and Antonio Felix da Costa to go wheel to wheel with, who are already established. He had never started a 3.5 series race coming into this season, and he won on his debut at Monza. Then he won at Spa last time out. That has given him such a huge confidence boost because it was in front of his home crowd on a circuit like Spa. Now he's got a third win on the approach. This is heaven for Stoffel Vandoorne.
Yeah, first driver this year to win 3 races, so all credit to the young man, and he's doing it in style, just hanging the back out there. I want to see what lap times he's been doing over the last lap or two.
Is slowing.
Because our timing screens are down, we can't see that, but he's been going very, very quickly, as you see Da Costa in the background there.
Into the final turn then, it's been a battle royale behind him, but controlling the race from the front, from pole position, Stoffel Vandoorne wins in Moscow. Fantastic performance, and he locks up to celebrate. Felix da Costa comes home in second place in the Ardennes Caterham. Melker just beats Will Stevens to the line after a great battle between them. 5th position, we'll wait to see if he comes round. Is he going to lead home a massive train? It could be Will Buller, but what a man. Stoffel Vandoorne dominating in race 1 at Moscow, and the Fortec team, as you can see, are absolutely delighted. Stoffel is elated. A magnificent drive, and that has definitely thrown his hat into the ring as a potential championship contender. We'll be back with the podium straight after this break, but the winner is Stoffel Vandoorne of Belgium. What a drive. You're looking at the winner of the first of 2 races here at Moscow this weekend in Formula Renault 3.5. The Belgian star, Stoffel Vandoorne. I bet McLaren were watching that with wide smiles. Here's the results. Vandoorne took the win from 6.7 seconds from Antonio Felix da Costa in the Ardennes Caterham. Melker rounding out the podium with the 2 Brits, Will Stevens and the new boy, William Buller, in a brilliant 5th position. Great performance. Look at that. Kevin Magnussen, only 11th. That is very telling in terms of the championship, Tom.
Sorry, my microphone is switched off. Yeah, 1 point away from... one place away from 1 point, and that means it was 29 points going into this weekend, so he doesn't score, and that means there's only a couple of points in the battle now up front.
Well, let's take a look at the highlights in this race. Right from the start, you can see at the back there, Sergei Sorokin, the Russian star, didn't even get off the grid because he stalled it on the way to the grid. We had a couple of incidents in the first couple of corners with drivers sweeping through, but right from the start, Vandoorne stamped his intentions on this race. On board with Da Costa, Tom.
Yeah, Da Costa making a good start, and both drivers actually on the front row making good starts. Such a short run down into turn 1 here at Moscow. It means that the cars don't really elongate themselves until you get further round the lap. Will Stevens making a move on Will Buller and forcing him wide at turn 15 last corner, and Will Stevens was fairly bullish, wasn't he, in terms of his approach?
Yeah, that was the move that put him into 4th position at the end of the race. Then we had this fantastic battle which put Daniel Loeb in front of Lucas Foresti, and then shortly after this happened. Martsenko up the inside, bang! And that is a nasty accident no matter what way you look at it, and Lucas Foresti is one lucky chap. Here it is again, look. Big bang, big hit, and then the roll hoop just drags across the floor and through the gravel trap. We were quite worried there, Tom.
I was immensely worried because the roll hoop digging into the gravel there, and then the fact that he hit the wall driver's side up was just incredibly scary. And in real time, it's just not something you want to see again. But this man, Vandoorne, really just put on a show, didn't he?
It was absolutely dominant. There's no other way of putting it. Just lights the flag, cruising practically to victory by the end of it.
Yeah,
here he is.
Congratulations from pole to flag for your 3rd win of the year so far. How was it?
Sure, it was a great day for us. The weekend started a bit difficult. We had a few problems, but today we solved everything. The team did a massive job overnight, and qualifying on pole, lights to flag victory. So it was a great day for us, especially for the championship as well. Very good day for us. Thanks to the team, thanks to everyone that make this happening. Thanks.
Stoffel Vandoorne then. Not only does he win the first race in Moscow, but it makes tomorrow even more interesting, because in the championship fight, but it looks like this, 4 points now. That lead is gone.
Yeah, my maths is pretty good then. I was there and thereabouts, but you're right. And Da Costa, not a million miles behind either, and he's just crept up. And so Will Stevens in 4th place is another man that is worth a mention, because he's done an absolutely incredible job.
And let's not forget, Will Buller, 5th position in the race. He puts 10 points on the board, even more than Carlos Sainz managed in 2 meetings. Not bad going, Will. No,
Will Buller will be absolutely ecstatic. Had a difficult start to his Euro Formula 3 campaign this year, and he's now moved to Fortec in Formula 3 and doing a great job in World Series by Renault.
And there's not much of a lead in the team's championship either. Dams just 5 points clear of Fortec.
Yeah, obviously they really haven't scored today, Dams, and Fortec scoring very heavily with Van Dorn and Ollie Webb doing a great job, and I'm sure his girlfriend Portia, who's watching at home, will be very pleased as we see David Coulthard alongside these young drivers. And you know what an experience it is for them to be queuing to go up onto the podium with the likes of David Coulthard.
So the man in 3rd position then, a great drive. Let's not forget that from Nigel Melker, the Dutchman. He put in a stonking effort to get 3rd position, held off Will Stevens when he needed to. Antonio Felix da Costa, that will give him the confidence boost he needs to get back into good form in 2nd place. But you can't begrudge this man. Fortec are delighted. Stoffel Van Dorn.
Yeah.
What a drive.
What a job. And the crew look on. Chris Gordon down there, the senior engineer, doing an absolutely fabulous job at Fortec Motorsport. And I'm not sure the name of this man, but someone from Fortec can tweet in and tell me, and we'll give him a mention.
Brilliant stuff from Stoffel Van Dorn. And the national anthem for Belgium. The last time a Belgian won a Formula 1 race was in 1990. Thierry Boutsen. Might not be too long before we hear the name Stoffel Van Dorn on the Grand Prix Winners' Trophy. And not too long before we hear the Belgian national anthem in Formula 1, Tom.
Yeah, well, that's a good stat. You've certainly done your homework, Jake. And no, well, if he carries on this momentum, I'm sure McLaren are very pleased with their young protege, and what a job he's doing. And you're right. I mean, obviously, it's a long way from here to Formula 1 still.
That's a nice moment. David Coulthard giving Antonio Felix da Costa, who he'll know quite well by now, of course, giving him the trophy for 2nd position.
You know, David, very prominent figure in Formula 1 in the Red Bull fold, and obviously with his journalist arm of commentary now, it's important for David to come here and see these young drivers, and it does help massively for them in terms of their PR and reputation to be noticed by the bigger names in the sport, and fully deserved, because I'm a big fan of World Series by Renault and the talent that it produces, and I think we've got some real quality in this year's championship, as you know, we have got out of the championship in years gone by.
Well, the big story from today then, quite simply, Van Dorn brings in that championship gap, decimates it, and sets up quite an interesting race for 2nd position. We've got the name of the chap collecting the trophy, haven't we, Tom?
It's Ricky, so thank you very much for,
well, cheers, Fortec.
Fortec, and that's Ricky from the Fortec Motorsport crew, joining his man on the podium. He's going to run away before he gets sprayed by the champagne.
What a story then today. We came into this race with a dominant lead for Kevin Magnussen after a qualifying session that for him was plagued by a penalty, dropping him to 17th. He tried hard, but he couldn't make it into the points. Just couldn't help it. There's nothing he could have done about it. But Stoffel Van Dorn, he's brought this fight right back in, and you can join us tomorrow at 11:50 for the 2nd race at Moscow, and it's going to be quite an exceptional race. Magnussen versus Van Dorn, with da Costa snapping in the wings. It's going to be quite interesting tomorrow, particularly when you consider pit stops will also come into play. If you thought today was good, tomorrow will be better. Join us then. From me and Tom, and all of us here at Renault World Series on Eurosport. Thanks for being with us, and we'll catch you tomorrow.